Hi, welcome to the first video on my new channel, Reese Miniatures. I've been watching a lot of painting videos on YouTube lately, but some of those longer, sort of 2 to 3 hour length videos, and I really appreciate the attention to detail people can go into in those videos that you might not get in some of the shorter ones. I particularly like to have them on while I'm working on my own projects, because they can give you inspiration or ideas of how to tackle something that you may not have thought of before. So I'd like to make some of those videos myself, but for now, for this first video, I'd just like to do a small showcase of an Epic Armageddon Eldar army that I've been working on for about 2 years now, and I'm really excited to share it with the world because I'm happy with the way that it turned out. I haven't really showed it to anyone, but now's a great time because next weekend I'm actually playing in a tournament using the army, so it'll be great to get it out of the display case, put it on the table and get some game time with some other people. So let's take a closer look at the models and I'll share some of my painting techniques and strategies that I used. So here's the army. I normally have it spaced out a bit differently, but I'm just compressing it all together like this to get it on the screen. So I'm just going to go through some of the individual minis. I can't really help but point out this one first. It's definitely my favourite piece in the entire army, the Vampire Raider. Basically this thing in the game acts as a fighter bomber, and it flies in, it can blow up stuff with the twin-linked lancers, and it can also drop troops off. So typically I run aspect warriors inside of it, fly it up, drop the aspect warriors out, and then hopefully if the Vampire Raider survives to the end of the turn, they get back in the aircraft and go back off the table again. So essentially the colour scheme I've gone with was one of my own creation, and I've used it across the entire army except for on the aspect warriors, which according to the lore are supposed to have their own set colour schemes. But this one I wanted to have a colour scheme that allowed me to have a dark gradient, but also really high contrast points, in the edges, like such as here and all those little bits here. I also feel like this could almost be in space as well, like it's a glistening metal and there's a light source somewhere that's just kind of reflecting. I've done some glowing as well, like a lot of these vehicles have engines. And I push the glow out from them pretty hard, but I like the way it breaks up the miniature, especially on a miniature that's this large. Sometimes the blue, if it was just the same blue over the entire miniature, like it could get a little bit almost dull, like it's the same thing across the entire body, and like you just have to paint all that. But to have this gradient going through it, it's a yellow, but because it's over the blue, it actually becomes like more of a green. And it just gives more interest and life into the model, some extra element to it. So it's particularly good on the bigger ones. On some of the smaller ones, like the Falcons, sometimes the yellow can almost be like a little bit overpowering on these ones, but I still enjoy it on those. So ever since I was a kid, like I got into Warhammer Fantasy first, but I was into Warhammer 40k as well, and I just always loved grav tanks, like Eldar grav tanks. They were just the coolest thing when I was a kid. And when I was young, I tried a lot of times to paint grav tanks, but had no idea how, and kind of wrecked a ton of them. But so when my friend got this army, he sold it to me, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, there's like 20 grav tanks here and this Vampire Raider thing, and I was just super excited to get to like paint grav tanks again, but like on this scale, getting to paint like so many of them was super fun. Like the detail in the mini is so great. So the army has, I think it's like 9 Falcon grav tanks. There's the Wave Serpents, which are pretty cool looking sort of minion as well. There's a lot more of this sort of bone collar at the front of these. So it's got 4 of those. It's also got the little hatch at the back. But also worth note is the super heavies. So these things, I'd never encountered anything like this before I got into Epic, but these were probably, under the Vampire Raider, probably my next most favourite. This thing's a beast in the game. It's 75 centimeter range, it just blows up armor. And then the Nightwing Air Force. Yeah. These do really well. I typically bring them in on like an intercept. If I can, on the first order of my turn, I'll usually get these guys an intercept if the opposing player has Air Force. I like to get these out as quickly as possible. If you take that first order and do the intercept, it means that as soon as they bring any Air Force out, you get to come in with 3 of them and have a pretty good, they've got pretty good AA, so you have a decent chance of taking them out. So there's a unit of Guardians, and then there's plenty of units of Aspect Warriors in here as well. Fire Dragons, Striking Scorpions, Dire Avengers, Howling Banshees, and Shining Spears. Shining Spears are just absurdly fast, as is a lot of the army, you know, like the Wave Serpents can move like 35 centimeters, so they just fly up, drop out a ton of Eldar. There's a Farseer in here, so it can drop the Avatar out as well, and so once you have the Avatar out, you can create like a really large central engagement and bring like so many supporting attacks into the firefight. It was super fun to paint. Like, just it was a little bit refreshing after going from all the tiny infantry to get to paint like one infantry model in the army that's actually like kind of large, and it was really fun to kind of tie the typical orange color scheme of the Avatar in with the blue robe there to kind of tie it in with the rest of the army. I'm really happy with this one, and it was great fun to do it. So these bases are actually, I just cut up some thick plasticard. I think it's like 3 mil thick, and actually just beveled all the edges and put my own little designs in them, drilled the holes so, you know, I could put the infantry in them. It was pretty difficult process. Like, it took a long time to create the bases. I am happy with the way that they turned out, but when you look at them closely, you can see like saw marks and stuff like that. So while it was good to try something a little bit new like that, I don't really know if I would necessarily try it again, but it's something a little bit unique with the way it's like a very smooth base. I was trying to make it look as if it was, you know, maybe on like a mechanical homeworld or something where the surface is just like flat, maybe city, like sci-fi city sort of street, but getting like a smooth base is a little bit tricky. So essentially with these miniatures, I started with actually like a white undercoat and then a turquoise airbrush layer. So these actually started, where is it? These actually started as like a really turquoise color, a lot more green to it, but then once you work up the following layers of blue, it just gives that subtle sort of green shade, but it's really more of like a lighter blue. After the airbrush base, first thing to do is go through and pick out all of the crevices or little cracks, like the most deep cracks, and I get a really dark blue straight in there. As soon as you do that step, you pull out those cracks, especially on like these, you know, things like Eldar, these flyers that have these little segments, and you paint that crack on it, instantly the model comes to life. And it's probably the fastest step in the model is pulling out those cracks. Really what takes longer is doing the little blended highlights, you know, little details like the engines and stuff like that takes a lot longer than doing these cracks. So definitely like had a lot of fun painting those cracks. And I'd encourage you to try it on any kind of miniatures you have with cracks in it like that. Like you see it in a lot of Infinity models. So there, altogether, that comes to, it's almost, that's probably 3,500 points there. I'm taking to the tournament a 3,000 point army. It doesn't have the 2 Storm Serpents, it doesn't have Vipers, it doesn't have the Night Spinners, but I think everything else is in there. Yeah, the big cost goes in like Falcons and Aspect Warriors. Like you take a unit of 8 aspects mounted in a Falcon each, and that's like a 700 point unit. So then the last remaining miniatures I have for Epic is a few Titans. So I'm pretty keen to get these guys painted up. I'm obviously not using them on the weekend, but they're the next on my list of things to go. So we've got 2 Revenant Titans, which actually operate in a squadron, and a Revenant Titan. And a Phantom Titan, which is obviously like the big boy. But I think in games I'd probably be more likely to use the Revenants, and the minis are also they're really nice. Like just jump pack Titans. Like it doesn't really get much cooler than that, you know. And I tried to pose them so that they look like they're firing in a direction. They're not just sitting straight forward. These guys will come together like really quickly. Once I get the airbrush base on them, I'm just gonna be able to have a great time like painting in this helmet. These lines in here will be really super fun. The Phantom has a lot more little like bling and stuff like that. So he's got all these little like gems around here. A lot more gems, a lot more little just sort of like ornamentation crowns. That'll take a little bit longer to pick that out. Lots of big wraithbone areas. That'll take me a little while to get like a nice good coverage on like these lances. But yeah, that'll come together. I've got a base here ready to go for it. So that'll, once he's painted, go straight on the base. Along with those Revenants. Other than that, just a Wraith Gate, which I will be using as an objective marker at some point. I haven't really experimented with the Wraith Gates yet, but I've read how they work, and I'm pretty. The Storm Serpents are also Wraith Gates, so essentially you can have models teleport out of the Wraith Gates. So I will be experimenting with those a little bit more. And then just some. I've got 3 bombers basically, so. A little bit similar to the Nightwings, but these are bombers, so they're more focused on anti-infantry rather than anti-aircraft. They're pretty similar sort of minis. They're basically like a miniature Vampire Raider, actually, now that I'm thinking of it. If you compare these 2 miniatures, it's pretty much the same thing, eh? Yeah, so these will be really great. Again, once getting that base coat, just working on those little lines straight away will bring it to life. So. Yeah, so that's the remainder of the force there, is those 3 bombers. Bang, bang, bang. And then, while I have enjoyed painting this army, it's also been like a long work in progress. I'm pretty ready to move on to something else. So hopefully I can get these 6 minis here painted up like in the next couple of months and move on from it. But I do plan to do a painting video specifically of these 2 Revenant Titans, where I'd like to show the airbrushing process as well as picking out the highlights and blending up into those high areas. And also we'll have some nice object source lighting off the side of the jump packs here. They'll be really cool to paint. And also these rear, I believe these are in the fluff, the wings that allow for the hollow fields. They generate the hollow fields. And they'll look nice painted up as well. So I haven't decided whether I'm going to do those in like a bone or the blue. I think it's probably going to be the blue colour scheme for the Holyfield wings, but they could also look nice in that Wraith bone. I'll just have to maybe have a bit of a think about that. And they've also got some great cloth areas in here as well. So, on my avatar I painted the cloth blue, but I can't really paint the cloth on the Revenant Titans blue because the base of the body will be blue as well, so I'll have to pick those out in a different colour, which I don't really have like a... I have the blue and the bone colour are the 2 key colours to this scheme. I don't really have like a third supplementary colour, so I might have to see if I can work one in somehow. Unless I just sort of go with like a dark colour, so that the loincloth there just kind of subtly blends in a bit. See how I go with that. Any ideas, feel free to stick them up. What colour do you think would be good for the cloths there in the Revenant Titans? Alright. That's the army, thanks for watching. The next video is going to be those Titans, where I really get into them from the base coat up through to the finished miniature. And then the next project after that's done is actually going to be some 10mm fantasy, which I'm super excited about. I can't wait to get some big blocks of ranked up infantry on the table to share with you. So thanks again, and I hope you check out the future videos.